is up, true believers? The eternal truth. The eternal truth. The eternal truth. The eternal truth behind our modern mythology.
What is up, true believers? It's Mason here with Comics and Crosses, where we discuss the eternal truths behind our modern mythology. And today is Wednesday. I was not sure for a second. Today's Wednesday, new comic book day. I hope it's a good one for you. And a lot of good stuff coming out today. And it is February 9th as well. So days are all kind of a blur when you work from home and do your YouTube channel from home and everything. But hey, today is a cool day because we got a special guest on the show. Gonna have a friend, new friend, Renton Hawkey, joining us. He's got a project on Substack, and I've checked it out, and the art is legit. And so he kind of reached out to me, and I was like, "Yeah, man, let's talk about it. Let's just talk comics." So. But first, I just wanted to start our morning with maybe some of the latest news, what's going on. And we got what is up to my good buddy. Buenos dias, amigo. Have a good show. Sergio from the House of Nerds is dropping in. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. And so a couple of things that are noteworthy. Yesterday, the Batman from Warner Brothers opened up sales for tickets on an early screening, early March 1st IMAX screening of the Batman. I went from being like, oh yeah, that looks cool, I'm gonna check it out, to like, oh my God, I gotta get my tickets. So I nabbed those for sure. I got myself a couple of tickets to the screening on March 1st, and I'm excited. I saw that AMC is giving a comic book even with that early March 1st screening. I got mine through Fandango, so I'm hoping they do the same, but I don't really know for sure. Either way, I'm going to be there. And then, so if I'm on the show the next morning, I will be either glowing or very depressed because it was a terrible Batman movie. It looks cool. I didn't really like the first stuff I was seeing. Not so sure about what's his name, Robert Pattinson. Kind of looks like The Crow. I don't know, the way the early trailers looked and stuff looked like maybe if I was in the 90s and like hated my parents, it might be my kind of movie. But but we'll see, because the action does look dope. So it may totally exceed my early expectations. I have a feeling it will. So other than that, I believe what was the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett is now live digitally on Disney Plus, and I have not seen it yet, but that is out there. You can go scope it out. The last 2 episodes have been Star Wars gold, I would say. Your opinion may differ. Let me know in the comments, but I thought it was brilliant, and I'm excited to see how they end off this season. Hopefully more Din Djarin and Grogu and other Star Wars characters, and less Boba Fett. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like the show is going in the right direction when we have less of the title character, but that's just me. Other than that, let's see. News-wise, I feel like there was something else I was going to share. But listen, that's not important. Today we have a special guest, as I said, so I'm going to bring him on right now. So this is Renton Hawkey. We met on Twitter just as he was, kind of meeting other people in the community. He reached out to me, and we can tell the story some more. But like I said, he's got a really cool project going on Substack, which also made me really interested to talk to him, because a couple of episodes shared my early first impressions of Substack via the 3 Worlds, 3 Moons that Jonathan Hickman is heading over there. My knowledge is very very limited of Substack. So I was curious to hear from somebody who's using the platform to launch, to share his comic, his creative project, and learn some more about that. And then I think he's involved in a lot of different things. So it'll be good to just hear from somebody from the community. So let us welcome in Renton Hawkey. What's up, brother?
Hey Mason, how are we doing?
Good, man. I appreciate you coming on. Happy to chat with you. Let me know a little bit about yourself, first of all. Who are you? From where do you hail? And what is life about for you?
Sure. So I'm Renton Hawkey. I'm an independent comic book creator. I hail from Madison, Wisconsin. The Winterfell of America. So that's where I'm getting up to my comic creations. I have long been a comic fan. I've always kind of had a hair that I wanted to tell stories. Particularly in comics. It's been a bit of a bumpy road getting there. I wasn't necessarily intending on being an artist when I set out. So I've had to kind of backfill and take some shortcuts and duct tape some things together on the back end to make it look somewhat competent. So I'm really, very much learning as I go. I have contributed some like short comics here and there for trade paperbacks or Kickstarters or something that friends were working on. And then
And that's artwork. Do you mean you've contributed artwork to projects that have been published?
Yeah, so I wrote a short comic that was published in Caliber Comics Presents like 5 years ago, before Gary Reed passed away. So that was kind of my debut as like a writer, and then from there I decided to do art. And then I've since usually I like to write and draw. So most of the stories I've contributed have been written and drawn by me. A couple, where I'm just the artist, but yeah, for the most part,
Yeah. So I neglected to mention that, but for anybody listening, so Renton writes and draws his comics. Like, he's a full picture creator, and that is always astonishing to me, because it is such a different skill to be an artist, versus being a writer. I mean, I consider myself a writer, a storyteller, but I cannot draw to save my life. There's a comic YouTube show called Lame or Frame. I don't know if you've seen it, from Rod.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was on there once, and I probably will go down in history as the worst artist they've ever had featured on their show to ever compete. But so that's amazing. I think I want to hear more about that. Do you feel like it's hard? Do you feel like it's just a natural flow since you wrote it, or what is that process like?
Yeah, well, when I was a writer, so I've always drawn, but mostly just like people. I was like character design stuff. Like I would write a story in my head, and it always helped me as a writer to be able to picture the character. So like I'm kind of like one of those weird types where I don't have a problem watching a movie based on a book before I read the book, because then I could just imagine Kate Winslet or whoever while I'm reading the book as that character.
Yeah.
So I kind of.
How was the book of Titanic? It was good, no?
It was excellent. Yeah, just
Okay.
a real tearjerker. So
Gotcha. Go. Okay.
But anyway, so I always kind of, my initial idea was I would be a writer, but I would also design all the characters for whatever comics I was working on. And then after a couple of false starts collaborating with other artists, I was like, well, why don't I just lean into this art thing and try to do it all myself? And I think that is it hard? Absolutely. I mean, it's a grind. It's a lot of, I wake up at 5 every morning. I draw for like 3 hours, make the kids breakfast, get them off to school, do the day job, and then put them to bed at night, draw for 3 more hours, go to bed. Right. So it's a grind. But I think the perk, there's pros and cons. So I mean, the comics community is a very collaborative community. So that, it's a lot based on networking. It's a lot based on collaboration. So as the all-in-one, you kind of you kind of have a weakness there because you're not really connecting with as many people. You're not coming together with other makers to create stuff. You're just mostly kind of doing your own thing. So I think you're a little bit more limited on the networking side. But the perk is that nothing gets in the way of satisfying your vision for a story, except for your time. So that's kind of
That's
all
interesting.
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of that as a trade-off, but that's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, I know that the comic book community, especially, what you might call outside, the main industry that has a high wall that we talked about before we came on,
Mm.
is super collaborative. But yeah, if you're in a collaborative medium, and I come from a film background, which is highly collaborative, and I know
Yeah.
that's some of the magic comes in with that collaboration. But yeah, but if you're the whole shebang, if you're the writer and the artist, yeah, you kind of do miss out on a bit. But there is something to be said, and I think I've seen this in the film world. Is a lot of times there are people who are like, oh, this is my project, I must direct it, I must maintain control. You get to keep control if you are the full creator. To some extent you have a little
Yeah.
more say, and it's kind of hard, especially if the project's close to your heart, I imagine,
Mm.
to let go of your baby and see
Yeah.
somebody else interpret it maybe a little differently than you would.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, mapped onto the comics community, I would think of maybe like the writer typically, not always, but typically is sort of like the director of a given project. So in my mind, it's, this is controversial. Everybody has various opinions about who owns what percentage of a project, but for me, whoever came up with the idea, it's, they're the director. It's kind of their baby.
Mhm.
And everybody else is just kind of on board for that vision. And so, yeah, I think that that's kind of the closest analog between film and comics, um, but yeah, I think the difference is comics is a little bit more, it's a little bit less. So that's how I feel about the comics creation process. But I think that in general, most people feel that it's like a real team effort, and like the writer just kind of plays a role. And so, for me, I kind of went into it thinking like, oh, writer as director, it's his vision or her vision or their vision. And then, yeah, I guess the turn for me was just like, if I want it to be my vision, then you know, I need to pull the plow and make it happen on all fronts and learn how to draw and color and all of it.
Yeah. And so Rent, let you slipped a little something that you got kiddos too. You doing the whole family thing. So how many kids do you have?
Two, 5 and 3.
Okay, you and I are very similar. I got a 4 and a 2-year-old.
Yeah, I saw a previous stream of yours, and I was like, yeah, I was wondering if we would touch on having little kids during the pandemic at all, because that was,
Oh, well, we can. Yeah, we can.
yeah.
So, I mean, are your kids socially broken after the great shutdown? Are they doing okay? Do they talk?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's been the interesting thing, right? Is that I follow the news pretty closely, and I've been reading a lot about debates about what we should be doing with schools and how students are doing in schools and that kind of a thing. A lot of heated opinions there. Not going to touch that here, I don't think, but it's a thing that people are talking about. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's been kind of interesting watching that as someone who doesn't have school age kids, because they really are kind of in a bubble. I mean, my son, who's 5, started kindergarten this year. He seems to be okay,
Mhm.
but but like a kid who's been in it for like 3 years now. I mean, that yeah, with little kids, it seems like they're kind of in a little bubble, and
Yeah.
they don't really know what's going on. And like we have like a social circle that we've like bubbled with or whatever. So they get to play with other kids and stuff. I don't really see it as being super different from, the normal times. How about yourself?
Yeah, I feel like I've seen more in other kids, like people's little kids that, they were born in the pandemic or they were very, very little, babies and kind
Yeah.
of maybe having a harder time, being a little more clingy to mom or dad or,
Yeah.
being a little more timid and And so when I started the pandemic in California, I recently moved to Texas, actually.
Yeah.
So big difference in just the shutdowns and the way everything's run
You
from.
still have your power. I noticed you guys have had some weird weather lately, so
Yeah,
glad to see
we
it
had a
come
little
on.
snow, which was actually kind of magical. I've never had snow at my house before, so the kids
Yeah,
loved it.
yeah,
Which was kind of, and it was perfect too, because it was like one snow day. We maybe stayed in the house 2 days, and then it pretty much was all melting, and that's kind of perfect. I mean, you're in Wisconsin, so I imagine you have to shovel and get snowed in and all that kind of crazy stuff.
yeah. It's a there was a BuzzFeed video a while back where they showed people who live in California things like an ice scraper for like your car, and
Yeah,
they're like, what the hell is this? So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's salt, shoveling, all of it. Yeah, I
Um,
mean it's fun, but I did used to live in Tennessee, and it was kind of a similar thing there, where
yeah,
like you would get like a little dusting every once in a while, and then the city would just shut down because they didn't have plows or anything like that, and then the
yeah.
snow would melt by noon, and then everybody could go back to work or whatever. So I've seen kind of both sides of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. I kind of like living in a place where they're not hardened by the brutal winters of regular annual like downfall. It's nice
Yeah,
because in Texas everything shuts down. It's snow day. It's like
yeah.
fun. It's great that way. It's like I don't want us to ever adapt. But I just
Right.
got here, so I'm just kind of along for the ride. Like I said, I was in California before. I was in
Yeah.
Sacramento. Oh, and then, I think our kids do fine because my wife she cannot sit at home. I mean, even if there was no place you could really go during the pandemic, she was taking the kids to the park, or just
Yeah.
constantly getting out, just driving around, anything.
Mine's
So
mine's the same way.
yeah. So, yeah, so that was kind of what that looked like. And then, yeah, it's definitely different now. I'm very fortunate to work from home.
Yeah.
I work for a company that's, where most of the people are working remote. And this was right around the time that the pandemic started, maybe right before.
Yeah.
And so we didn't skip a beat. And that actually led in big part to this channel to me starting Comics and Crosses. And I was like, well, I'm working at home. I might as well design my office a little bit, make it fun. And then,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna just start doing a channel, just talking and just have fun with it. And now I'm doing the morning show, which has
Yeah.
been really cool. A nice regular routine for my week. And again, it's good to have you on. We got Renton
Yeah.
Hawkey here. So tell me about Ronin Digital Express. This is your Substack project, and I think from what I've seen so far, it looks really cool. What was the origin of this? Like, how did it come about? And then just what is it?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so Ronin Digital Express, really, I was kind of following a similar track as you just laid out for yourself, where between deciding to become a comic book artist and actually doing it for real, the pandemic was kind of an influence on that. I'm a little bit behind you on the office deco. I mean, it looks like I'm in a little bit of a prison cell here still, but
I
as far as
consult for a reasonable fee. If you want to hire me to direct,
perfect,
decorate
yeah.
your back.
Yeah, I probably need it for sure. But yeah, no, I've got a lot of like pictures along the floor too that I just need to hang up. But anyway, a similar thing where like
Yeah.
the pandemic hit. I was also working remote before the pandemic anyway, so there wasn't like a huge shift to like my day. But I was really just kind of like, hey man, like let's get this done for real. And Ronin Digital Express was an idea that I had uh, that was really just kind of based around that main character. That if anyone has checked it out, the main character is this man with no name, Clint Eastwood type of Western trope kind of a
Yeah.
character, right? Like he's just like mostly presence, like Boba Fett or something like that, where you just kind of iconic silhouette.
Yeah.
He's a lot of mood, a lot of presence, just kind of like an interesting, like, I want to know a little bit more about this guy, kind of a character.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I just used to draw that character for the past several years, and so what I wanted to do was I have I have a good number of like mini series type ideas I want to do in comics over the next several years, but I really kind of wanted to experiment with like a web comic. and I kind of felt that Ronin Digtial Express would be a good project to kind of I guess get my reps in terms of being an artist and trying to adhere to like deadlines, figuring out how long it takes to draw stuff, how long it takes to color stuff, all of that, how to like get on like a consistent publishing schedule. So really, Ronin Digital Express is kind of like it's like the beta of like what I want to do with everything. But
Yeah.
happily, I think it turned out pretty well. But yeah, but it's a Western primarily. You follow. It's a little bit pulpy. You follow this nameless protagonist character who is a Ronin. There's like a blend of like Western and samurai type Akira
Yeah.
Kurosawa type stuff in there with like a little bit of like a 90s anime paint job, like if you
Yeah.
like stuff like Trigun or video games like Borderlands, it kind of looks like that, but the tropes and the themes are all Western and just samurai ninja type stuff. So yeah, you just follow this Ronin character through these one-off adventures, and yeah, I've got like a good chunk of episodes in the pipeline. If people respond to it, if they really dig it, I'll figure out a way to keep it going.
Great.
But yeah, just really, it's an experiment, I would say, and I think that it's one that I'm extremely proud of, and it's turned out a lot better than I thought it would. But yeah,
That's really cool. I think the samurai or the Ronin, is a great that was a great inspiration for the Jedi when George Lucas was creating Star Wars, and this whole this sense of honor and these ancient kind of warriors. So it's I think it's something that automatically resonates. There's something about that kind of mold of hero or anti-hero, whatever it ends up being. And so
well, fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but Toshiro Mifune, who was like he was like Tom Cruise in Japan, like in the 50s and 60s and 70s, like he was just their guy, like their big action guy.
John Wayne or whatever.
Basically, yeah, and like the Clint Eastwood, the Dollars trilogy movies, one of them is a remake of a movie that he's in, where he plays like a samurai, a man with no name samurai character.
Yeah,
and it's almost like it's not a shot for shot remake, but it's pretty similar. So yeah, I'm really inspired by like that Toshiro Mifune character, and also like Clint Eastwood. But Toshiro Mifune was George Lucas's choice to play Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he turned it down.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So he would have legit been like the ancient samurai in the desert kind of character.
Wow, that would have been way different. And I think I think the way that we viewed the Jedi or would have been much more samurai, kind of feel to it. So that's what might have been,
Yeah, right.
Well, and so something I wanted to hear. So I am a total Substack like novice. I don't know anything. So the only thing I do is I get like digital comics on Comixology when I'm going on a trip, and I read them on my iPad. And I feel like the oldest millennial in the world. I'm like, I want my printed comics, but I'm trying to be open at the same time. That's the way I feel in my heart, because that's all I've known is like printed comics. But so I'm new to the world of digital and all the things that are starting to really emerge, especially with like, I recently looked into 3 Worlds, 3 Moons. It's Jonathan Hickman is doing on Substack, and it's comics, but it's so much more. So I don't fully understand it. It's like, so can you like help me and help maybe anybody who watches this understand what is Substack? Like, how are things being delivered through Substack? What's the format?
Sure. Yeah. So it is fairly comparable to probably just like a blog, like it's just like a really easy to use.
I got that feel, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big draw, is just how intuitive it is. Like I haven't watched a single like how the hell do I do this video, like everything is just pretty straightforward. As far as like the analytics and your subscribers and stuff like that, once you log into your dashboard, it's all there. You can manage, and it's not like Google Analytics where it's like, you got to go through training to understand it. It's just like, hey, 80 people stopped by yesterday, and you're just like, awesome, thank you, and then you can log out and go about your day, right? And yeah, you can line up drafts like 3 months in advance. You can manage multiple publications. So Ronin Digital Express is not the only publication I plan on doing through Substack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll do a couple more probably in the next year or so. I do my newsletter through Substack. I used to do it through MailChimp. So yeah, I would say anybody, and like even, Ronin Digital Express, initially I published the first couple episodes on Webtoon in spring of, I think, last year. And that, using Webtoon is, your mileage may vary, but I think it's not that intuitive. Like you have to kind of create a format, and then you have to use like GIMP or Adobe to like cut it up into, the exact 12 by 80 or 1280 by 800 size, or else Webtoon is going to be like, nope, we don't recognize it. Bye. So like there's just like a lot of hoops you got to jump through that made the workflow really grind to a halt for me, which is why I jumped ship. But with Substack, I just upload my JPEGs and line them up, and that's that. And so the way it works, at least from like a user perspective, if like you were to subscribe, please subscribe. Everybody watching, please subscribe. You would subscribe, it would just show up in your inbox like a newsletter does, and then you could click through to view it on your browser or something like that. But otherwise, you can read it right there in your inbox if you want to. So I think there are some other user options too. I think you could like disable the emails so that like they don't come to your inbox, but you get like a little notification that like a new episode is live that you can check out kind of at your leisure.
Oh, okay.
And then there's commenting, pretty easy share functionality. So yeah, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say that like the appeal is that it's something like brand new. It's just that it's like, no BS, stripped down to just the bare essentials to make it as functional for everybody as possible. And I think that to that end, it's been very successful in my opinion.
Yeah, something that I feel like when I get to these sites, like maybe like Reddit or like Substack, that are very like simple, like almost look plain, like almost too plain, like they're not meant to be user friendly, I feel intimidated. Sometimes I feel like I'm not smart enough for this. This is for people who like, like spend hours online and reading and tell me about stuff going on in China and Syria and like, it just feels like I'm like, is this really like, should I be here? What don't I get? I feel like I'm missing something, but because I'm spoiled and, like consumer things are just made to be very user friendly. But because I kind of felt like that, I was looking at all this stuff in Substack under 3 Worlds, 3 Moons. And I was like, man, like, I'm like, okay, like this is a lot of stuff, But I guess maybe if you're getting it to your email, because I already gotten some emails, like maybe it just feels like, okay, at least they're giving me bite-sized things to take in. Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't really messed with any of the monetization or anything like that. But I mean, you can run a podcast through your Substack. You can monetize it the way you could monetize Patreon. So you can actually get subscriptions. You can gift subscriptions. So if I, wanted to run some kind of a, Ronin Digital Express is free, it will always be free. Maybe I shouldn't say it will always be free in case I want to change my mind later, but it'll be free for a little while at least. Yeah, I mean, it's free, but you could set it up so that people have to pay a subscription to get it. And then, if I wanted to run like a promotional thing on social media and like gift 10 free subscriptions or something like that, or you as a user wanted to gift a subscription to somebody else, like a year or, for a present or something like that. I mean, there's just like a lot of like really cool options like that. Yeah, thank you.
Gotta create the emergency. You better get it now because the price could go up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll say it'll be free until I realize that I'm stupid for letting it be free, I guess. We'll put it that way.
No refunds. And I just want to, again, affirm, I took a look at it. It looks like a legit project. It's a cool comic project. I was drawn in, to the whole Ronin idea, that that kind of classic silhouette or whatever of this cowboy Ronin kind of character. And I mean, Renton is not promoting this or giving it away free because it sucks. Like, and it's really, he's really he's taken it serious, and he's done a great project. So I think it's definitely worth checking out, and he could charge for it, but I think this is great because it gives, I think a great form of marketing, or like if you really believe that your stuff is good, give it away. And I think people will be like, I think when people get a chance to sample and taste, your kind of product, whatever it is that you're putting out there, if they believe in you, you got a customer, for ongoing. Like they're going to want to see whatever comes next.
Totally. I think that's kind of that is kind of my approach right now. Is just I want to build a body of work. I want people to get a good sense of of that work, get a good sense of myself and my values as an artist, and I would like people to just kind of know me more by my work, but at the same time, like, oh yeah, Rent, like I watched him on Comics and Crosses. He seems like he's a pretty chill guy. He seems cool. I'll check his stuff out. So I kind of want to approach it that way for now, and then later I think like the monetization thing for me is a little bit more. Most people don't get into comics to make a bunch of money because there's not very much, and I don't really want to work for the big two. I don't see myself drawing Spider-Man at some point, except for fun. So I would like to stay in sort of the creator-owned stuff. And that's passion, that's a passion project play. So if I had to monetize stuff at some point, most likely what I would be doing is I would be trying to monetize to decrease on workflow. Like, I would do it to hire, a flatter or something like that for Ronin Digtial Express so that I could produce episodes more quickly or something like that. Like it would be a little bit more functional, I think, not necessarily like bring me the money, like not so much that.
Yeah. And if you could say write any of the big two characters, like, is there a favorite character that you have that you would love to tell a story of, or is that not even something you're interested in at all?
I feel like I could do like a Star Wars thing if I could do like a one-off thing. Like it was like, hey, this is something that, is just in its own corner of this universe and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with anything else, like I wouldn't want to write a Boba Fett story or something. I would come up with my own thing in this corner over here.
Yeah. What thought of the Book of Boba Fett? Have you liked the show? Have you seen it?
Yeah. I haven't caught up to the one that went out today. But no, I've been mostly enjoying it. The thing that's really bugging me about it is they changed the shape of his helmet, and I really don't like it. So if everybody, seriously, after this, just go to Google, type in Book of Boba Fett helmet change or something like that. And somebody on Reddit posted like a side by side, and the one in the Book of Boba Fett is like longer, like it comes like, it looks like a bucket, like it comes down to like his neck. Whereas like the other one that he was wearing in The Mandalorian is like the classic
turtleneck before. Yeah.
And the one he was wearing before is the classic mold from Empire Strikes Back and stuff like that. But they changed it. They made it longer. I don't know why. I don't think it looks as good.
Maybe because his neck's too fat. It's just kind of distracting. Like, I have not been interested in like, middle-aged dad bod Boba Fett, like personally, but
when isn't, in terms of the timeline, isn't he can't be any older than like 36 or something, right? Like
that's a good question. So it's after Return of the Jedi. Yeah, so he should really be in his, well, if say he was like 10, 12 or something when in Attack of the Clones. Might be in his 40s, but he looks older than that, I think.
Yeah, they should have deep faked him like they did with Luke or something, because they've gotten really good with that stuff. So
have him wear his helmet more or something.
I mean, I like the idea. I like the concept. I like Fennec as a character. I think the idea of Boba Fett becoming like a mob boss is a cool like pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Tusken Raider stuff was cool, like the background stuff. But the way it's like organized, the way the arc is kind of going. There's a lot of bloat in there for sure. And then like the last two episodes that were basically like Mandalorian season 3, episode 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the best episodes of the season, but they're not. It's just it's not part of the show. So I'm kind of like, it's like I really like this stuff, but why is it in the middle of this show? Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what they're trying to do though is I think they're trying to create like they're trying to do like with Star Wars, they're trying to do like a TV show Marvel Cinematic Universe where they just kind of have like a lot of overlap and stuff like that.
They're creating a Filoni verse of just all of his characters and stuff, which is super cool. Like if you were a fan of the animated shows, which I think was some of the best Star Wars stuff, because I went from thinking the prequel trilogy was kind of garbage, or it was, everybody hated it, and then you get stuff like the Clone Wars and it's like, wow, this prequel era stuff is pretty awesome.
yeah I don't want to lick the frozen pole of Star Wars fandom, but I'm definitely ambiently aware of the sort of like Filoni v Kennedy schools of thought in terms of who should be taking over. And I think that it's tough. Like, I understand the argument that, hey, it's Star Wars, we should try new things. But then at the same time, I understand the whole, like, nobody can watch like the end of the Mandalorian season 2 when Luke is, ripping through those dark troopers and be like, this sucks. You know what I mean? Like it's that you have to give the devil his due and be like, that's pretty dope. Okay.
Yeah. It's, I a couple days ago or whenever it was, I was talking about, what a time to be alive as a fan, because I feel like there's been sort of this, there's been a lot of animosity from creators and, and just talking about, toxic fandom and this and that. But, but I think, it's kind of shifting to, like you see with Spider-Man No Way Home and with this latest stuff on the Book of Boba Fett, where it's like, creators are realizing, okay, we got to give the fans what they want. Like, we don't want it to be super predictable. Like, we're not doing our job. But at the same time, like, for decades, people have been dying to see a fully realized, Luke Skywalker after Jedi, after he saves the galaxy. What becomes of this, our hero who we watched as a young man, with hopes and dreams and no focus, become the resurgence of the Jedi Knights, and
well, I think the thing that, like, I'll try to cut past the questions about fandom and the community and stuff, and I'll just kind of go at it from like sort of more of a surgical view. But I think that the thing that the creators maybe don't, something I think that probably would have redounded on them positively, and I think that maybe Filoni is more of the representative of, is that a lot of people who grew up with Star Wars, millennials or whatever, 90s kids, we had like 20 years of extended universe stuff, so we don't have a head canon, we have a canon that was then thrown out. And then it was like, okay, none of that counts. Now we're going to do something new. And I think that everybody was like, all right, let's give it a chance. But, to your point, I think what is difficult there is that they're bumping up against, 20, 30 years of all these other people kind of putting their spin on the ball. And, so like, for me, I'm not super attached to, and you can kind of sort of see the way that works out positively for them when they bring in characters like Thrawn or something like that, or Dark Troopers, that gets you your wheels spinning, like, oh, is Kyle Katarn real in this universe or whatever, like you get kind of excited. So I think that for better or worse, it's like, hey, you may want to do new things with Star Wars, and I've actually liked some of the new things they've done with Star Wars, but at the same time, you're kind of skating uphill here because of the extended universe. It's not that easy to just write it off and be like, it's not canon anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I feel like you have the same problem in that has really become a big problem in like DC Comics, where they keep going back to a crisis. And it's like, if you've been a long time DC fan, it's like, okay, you keep mixing up and taking and retconning. It's just like too much retconning where, you can't make everybody happy. But at the same time, if you're going to keep erasing things in the past and pulling away, there are fans who have become attached to kind of what's been established. Like,
Yeah.
there are people telling me, oh, well, Luke, he marries this chick and he has these kids and all this. And so I think when The Force Awakens was coming out, there's a lot of expectation. Oh, it's going to be like Luke and his children.
Right.
And then they ended up changing, retconning and changing a bunch of stuff that a lot of fans had considered was the story, up to that point. So there is definitely there's going to be loss, for fans, for people who know the story when you decide to change the story. And, it's kind of a risk that I think creators got to take. Like, is this really going to be a better road? And there's going to be give and take,
Well, it's difficult too, because like as a creator, like I do, I want to be respectful and just as positive as I can with everybody I interact with. I think that there are a lot of elements of the fandom that have not, comported themselves with honor and dignity here either. There has been a lot of bullshit from that side, but as a creator, as an artist, like I do kind of have that philosophy that like, hey man, the fans don't always know exactly what's right. Like I think the creator does sort of have the veto in terms of what they want to do. And then the fans' veto is they don't have to spend money on it if they don't like it. And that's kind of the way the balance of powers should function. So yeah, I do kind of have that feeling that like storytelling is not a democracy, it's a dictatorship. Like I do feel that way as an artist, but at the same time, to kind of see the other side a little bit, I can do that with Ronin Digtial Express, right? Like I if it's my IP and a fan is like, hey man, this is not the way I wanted it to go, I can be like, well, it's free, so go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like I can do whatever I want to do. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on the stream, but
no, it's okay, but it's true.
But if it's, well, just to finish my point real quick, if it's like Star Wars, I don't want to get into like somebody else's IP, because that does kind of come with responsibilities. I feel like if you are like Jon Favreau or something like that, you're not so much there to do something artistic. You're kind of there to like steward, a franchise, and that's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, you brought up the point that I was just thinking of, was that it's a different case with something like Star Wars, or because you're right. If you own it, if it's a small independently created thing, but the bigger it gets, you get this kind of funny dynamic where, does Star Wars really belong to Disney because they paid billions for it, or does it really belong to the millions and millions of fans who love it? Like, it's kind of like the Green Bay Packers there in Wisconsin. They are actually a team that is not owned by a specific rich owner who decided to buy the team. They're owned like kind of by Green Bay, Wisconsin, or I forget exactly what the setup is like.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a different dynamic, but for some of these, for like Star Wars, for some of these big things, it's kind of a it's almost like I feel like the fans have more power. Like, just because you bought it doesn't mean, there is sort of a certain responsibility you have. Like James Bond, for example, that's a long-standing franchise that if you decide that James Bond, you can make him black, you can make him white, you can make him whatever. But if all of a sudden he's not British, a British Secret Service agent, and if all of a sudden he is like building an orphanage or something, like that would be a great thing to do, but it's just not his character. Like, and the fans are going to clap back at you because they know this character. Like, the fans own it in a way. They have an ownership to these long-standing characters and IPs that is just kind of like there is a point where you violate these stories and these characters and who they are. Now, maybe it's for a reason. Maybe it's like a really intentional, like killing Superman doesn't seem possible because he's the Man of Steel. But, it can be really dynamic if there was the whole death of Superman and there was a whole idea and story behind it. So, so there's definitely weight on each side of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess at the same time, like my recommendation to, fandom would just be like, hey, sometimes these people who are creating these things love these things too. Personally, I don't think anybody who has worked on Star Wars doesn't like Star Wars. And I know that that's probably, your mileage may vary with my opinion there, but nobody gets into that to do something to rip apart something they just don't like, right? Like, they love it. They just see something different that they love than you see.
Mm.
And I think that, the mature thing to do is just to be like, hey, they gave it a shot. It didn't work for me. We don't all have to like the same things. I'm gonna
Mm.
go about my day now. I spent $10 on a theater ticket. That's an acceptable loss of my liquid cash. And now I'm gonna go about my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
boot up. I'm gonna boot up Jedi Knight 2 on my old PC, and I'm gonna relive the glory days now.
Yeah, right. Well, this one show, as a part of my $6.99 a month I pay, was a real letdown, and so I think I'm owed restitutions of 23 cents at least for the episode I watched.
Yeah. Well, the Luke stuff, like, he was a little fuzzy looking at the end of Mandalorian, but whatever they did in the last episode he was in to deep fake him,
Oh.
look. I mean, are you caught up? I don't know if I should.
No, yeah. I haven't watched today's like you, but I've watched
Yeah.
the last two, and they actually went out and hired a guy who was on social media showing he's like, hey, look, like I can do a better deep fake than they did, and they
Yeah.
hired him. Like, so that was really
That's amazing.
cool.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it was seamless from my view. I was like that. Like, I know it's expensive to do that, but like, yeah, if they wanted to do like a 6 episode, to your point, see what Luke and his prime was like for, building the Jedi Academy or whatever. It's kind of seems like they could do it as long as Mark Hamill's alive.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's a big desire for Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier, to
Yeah,
play.
I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some mock-ups with him, like with Mark Hamill's old haircut, and man, he does look a lot. I mean, that'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
super cool. And I think it's not just. I love that they're expanding on it too. I love that there's Ahsoka, there's Luke, there's these different characters and things starting to happen in the Star Wars world universe at that time.
Mhm.
And I think I'm here for all of it. I'll see if some of it may be good, some of it may be great or okay. My friend Lauren is checking in, Friendly Neighborhood Buy, and she says the comic looks great. Thanks for bringing great indie creators on the show. Yeah.
Bless you, Lauren. Thank you.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, and I'm like I say, I was really taken back by the project. I thought it was cool, and so yeah, definitely wanted to share it. So as we kind of get towards the end of our time here, Rent, is there right now is your full focus on the Ronin Digital Express, or is there anything upcoming that you want to let people know about that maybe they can be looking out for?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say I think that Ronin Digital Express in some form will be a pretty big part of what I'm up to for the foreseeable future. Right now, I've kind of packed in the first arc of it, and that will publish through probably towards summer or so, maybe midsummer. And then after that, I might take a break, do something else. I've got a couple other, like I said, I've got a couple other Substack publications that I want to launch. I have like when I was a writer, I have a bunch of scripts that are kind of in like the spy genre that are sort of like 60s, 70s spy type stuff. A lot more like slow burn, a lot more grounded and gritty
type stuff.
No, not quite that. maybe more akin to like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy or the Americans or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but like a lot of them are just one-offs. Like one shot, 20-page issue kind of thing. So I thought about doing like an anthology on Substack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a couple of people interested in helping print Ronin Digital Express. So that might be something. There's like another anthology. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but there's a pretty big anthology that invited me to contribute something to it. I don't know when it will come out. I still have to start work on it, but they saw some advanced episodes of Ronin, and they were like, "Oh, can we print this one in our magazine?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna do something brand new. Like, I don't want to, I don't want anyone who, has read Ronin to. If I'm gonna go be like, hey, buy this or whatever, I'm in it.
Yeah.
I want them to get something new, and anybody who is seeing me in that collection for the first time, and then they find me on Substack, I want them to not have any repeats. You know what I mean? So I'll be working on like a new 20-page one-shot thing within the Ronin universe, probably a little bit later in the year.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I will be nonstop working until the hands dry up or someone shows up to kill me. I'm just going to keep going.
Okay. Well, if we don't hear from you, we'll know what happened. Yeah. Well, Rent, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I dig what you're doing. I dig your philosophy and the way you're going about it on Substack. I think it's really cool. We already have people checking it out and thinking it's cool. So, yeah, man, I am glad to have you as a guest on the show and to now consider you a friend. And I definitely am going to keep following what you're doing. Maybe we'll see him on Star Wars someday, but definitely either way, he's creating his own original, unique stuff. So very cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to kind of follow up on that, I reached out to you to see if you'd be curious to chat. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to check out what I'm doing. And then, to see some value in it and to bring me on to chat about, fandom and comics and all that stuff. And, yeah, absolutely. Let's keep in touch. If there's ever opportunity to come on again, I would love to.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool, Rent. Well, that is all we got for today. I'll be posting a video later because it is Walking Dead Wednesday. I'm a Walking Dead noob. I never read any of Walking Dead or seen the show. So every week I'm reading one issue. I'm on issue 5 this week. So I'll drop a video later to give feedback on that. But otherwise, thank you everybody who tuned in and for everybody who watches this on replay later. And Comics and Crosses Morning Show will be back in on Friday. We got another special guest lined up, Big Al from Big Al's Comics. So we'll be talking comics and life and whatever else, COVID lockdowns. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, all right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.